Hello， 大家好，我是叶子。最近美国对全世界发动的这个贸易战、这个关税战，可谓是牵动人心。网上已经有不少网友给我发来邮件，跟我说啊，新加坡是第一个预测美国跟中美关系这个会到今天这一步的，包括李显龙、李光耀他们的一些过去的一些说法，都应验了今天的事实。其实在我之前的节目里面已经多次发过关于李显龙、李光耀的很多他们的言论说法，包括现在新加坡的这个黄总理他的一些发言。其实我觉得很有意思，为什么呢？有些东西确实是冥冥之中被新加坡的各个领导说中了。那么今天我想分享一段，我个人觉得这段视频我已经保存了很多天，但是我一直没有时间吧，有机会去聊这个事情。那这段视频呢，是已故的老李总理这个回答学生采访的时候一段会经典的答复，我们来一起看一下。
My name is Wang Yan, and currently an MPA student. I come from China, and to be specific, Jiangsu province, a place shares a lot with and owns a lot to you and to your country. My question is about real China versus imagined China. Because I doubt that there's an easy way for China to explain to the rest of the world what is really going on in this country, while itself is going through unprecedented transitions. Among all leading leaders around the world, I think you are the only one that has been to China 30 times, I think, and that can speak excellent Chinese. So what does a real China look like in your eyes? And what are the major reasons that you believe how China sees itself and how the rest of the world, especially the West, sees China are persistently out of alignment? Do you believe in a peaceful rise of China? And if you do, please kindly advise how China should act to effectively convince others that the rise of China is not a threat to the world. Thank you very much.
You get very different questions in here.
I'll have to do a very carefully crafted thesis to answer you, which I'm not qualified to do. You live there, you've grown up there, you've been educated there. How can I know China better than you do? But just seeing China on 32 different visits over the since 1976, that's about 33 years, I would say it's been a remarkable transformation. The China I visited in 1976 was dilapidated, down, grey, drab, everybody in the same mouth jackets, unlit streets. I was put up in the best hotel in Shanghai. I went down at night after dinner to see what it's like, and dark streets, unlighted shops, and whole streams of people. So you've got to keep on moving, otherwise you're holding everybody up. Overcrowded. Oh, you go to Shanghai, unbelievably, it's widened the roads, they green up the place, huge, tremendous improvements in the infrastructure. So that's coastal China, and you can find that in Hangzhou, Dalian, Tianjin, all the coastal cities. I've also been to the interior. I've been to Hangzhou to see the caves in Dunhuang, and it was an arid place. It's got oil, and the oil's got to be shared with 1.3 billion people. So if Lanzhou was just looking after itself with its 40 million, it might be quite a wealthy little oil state. But it's not. So what is the real China? I think there are multiple real Chinas, depending even within a province. But given the diversity of the country, the progress is made is quite outstanding. Can it have a peaceful rise? Quite possible. For 20, 30, 40 years. Will it be peaceful after it has risen? I cannot say, because, every year since 1976, the relationship of China between Singapore and China, yes, it's good, it's friendly, but in 76, they were asking me questions about the free market, about many things. Now we are talking at a different level. I'm talking to people who read enormously and been briefed. So we are talking at a different level, and the relationship is at a more realistic level. You can't ask me with 4 million people to give advice to 1.3 billion people. I don't think it's wise anyway of me, and I'll cease to be friends if I do that. But I'll say what I think is good about China and a few things about what will hold it up. One, they've got the system going. When they say we will do this, it's done. The difference between India and China is stark. In India, Delhi says do that. But the chief minister says, you're not appointing me, I follow you. It's my voters who will make me the chief minister in the next election. So I say, yes, of course, but I don't do it. But in China, when they tell the party secretary, this must be done, and you don't do it, in the next reshuffle, you'll move sideways. So if you want to get up to the Politburo, you make sure it's a success. So you take Suzhou, all the six or seven officials that we dealt with, and they were very able ones. They are now right at the top. 2 party secretaries, 1 member of the Politburo in charge of discipline and so on, a very important post. Because that's the way it is, the system works, because if you perform, I promote you. You don't perform, you're out, sideways. So that's a systemic difference. The other thing that impresses me is the quality of the men that's coming up. 76, I met revolutionaries. Everywhere you went in the provinces, coming way that way. So the Revolutionary Committee greets you, and there some total of knowledge is Marxism, Communism, Leninism, and Maoism. Now you're meeting a different generation. The younger you go, the more Western educated they are, the more they're familiar with the world, and the higher the quality, and I think they got the system in order. You have to retire at that age. 65 in the center, in the provinces, mayors retire at 60. Party secretary 65, even in the center, you're very good and you go on to 70. Now, what is the bad side? Well, the bad side is, first, a dysfunctional system because of the corruption, a lot of unhappiness at lower levels. How to be rid of it? It's a very difficult job because all communist countries face this problem. During the time when the economy was controlled, money is useless. You can have a lot of paper money, but you can't go, there's nothing in the shops. You go to the shops that your pecking order decides. I'm Carter first class, and I go hospital first class, shops first class, I buy all these things. You are Carter 9th class, and you go to a different kind of class. You are not even a Carter. Well, that's too bad. On one of my tours, this is where there's a bit of hypocrisy. One of the people who accompanied us was wearing his Mao suit. So I said, well, you see, I show you. He unbuttoned himself and said, fur line inside. And if you're an ordinary fellow, you don't have a fur line. You just shiver, you put on more layers of cotton. But they maintain this egalitarian look. Now the problem now is with that egalitarian look, the poor are being squeezed at lower levels, and they see little officials getting prosperous and leading a good life, and they are not in their land. They don't own the land, but nevertheless, having tilled the land, and they expect adequate compensation, and they don't get it, so you get riots. So I think there are serious problems of equity there, and with CCTV now, you can see how beautiful Beijing is, how beautiful Shanghai is, and I'm still in my mud house, or my mud hut. When is my turn? Nobody knows. I mean, maybe 50 years, 60 years, because the trickle-down effect will take a very long time. So the present leadership is putting all the infrastructure in the less developed areas. Can you convert it quickly? I don't think so. Educational levels are lower, cultural levels are lower, you've got to educate them. Teachers don't want to go to such provinces, good teachers, because where are the facilities for your children's education and hospitals and so on? So it'll be a problem getting them up to speed. So corruption, inequality, and misbehavior, especially at lower levels, will lead to all kinds of problems, which can be contained because they've got a very powerful apparatus. People's security police, the army, the party. But if you want your country to progress, you must carry the people with you at all levels, which they did when they shared misery. But now the prosperity is not shared equally. I mean, you are here, you're from Jiangsu, it's one of the prosperous provinces. You're well dressed, you're well educated, you speak English. If you were in Hangzhou or Xinjiang, I don't think you'll have a chance to travel and be in Singapore. So these disparities will be serious problems. So the internal problem is the most important single difficulty they must attend to. Peaceful rise, it is in China's interest to grow in a peaceful environment. If you're engaged in wars or conflicts, you won't grow. You see Vietnam. From 1945 to 1991, they were engaged in a series of wars. Nearly broke them. Now they're recovering. It took a long time. And the Chinese know this. This generation has been through hell. Great leap forward, hunger, starvation, near collision with the Russians over the Amur River, Cultural Revolution, gone mad. So they said, okay, we've got a chance now to join the other countries at the top. Let's not disturb this opportunity. So hence this concept of peaceful rise. I met the party school vice principal They asked me to speak to the students once. So I said, if I were you, I would not use the word peaceful rise in English. It sounds all right in Chinese, Bechi, but in English it means you're rising. It's like a mushroom, you scare people. Why not say cultural renaissance, that you're going back to Tang Dynasty or Sung Dynasty or Han Dynasty, a restoration of your cultural fluorescence. That will make people concentrate on the cultural side. So they now settle for peaceful development. I see they've moved away from peaceful rise. I have no doubts that they will have they want a peaceful rise, this generation. But the grandchildren may think that they have already arrived, and then they begin to flex their muscles, and then you will have a very different China. So I put this question to them. They said, no, it won't happen. We'll tell them, teach them all the lessons. The grandchildren never listen to grandfathers. So that's one problem. The other problem is a more crucial one. If you start off in the belief that the world has been unkind to you, that the world has exploited you, that the imperialists have devastated you, looted Beijing, done all this to you. One day you get at the top table, you'll square accounts. Well, that's no good. I think you must get a generation to grow up and say, look, you're not going back to old China when you were just the only power in the world, as far as you know. Rome is far away, and the Silk Road, you can't invade each other. But you are now going to grow, let's say in 50 years, with an economy, total GDP more than America, easily more than Japan, but per capita still low. But you are just one of many other powers, many of them more innovative, more inventive, more resilient in meeting with changes in technology and changes in social life and so on. So I tell my American friends, if I were you, I wouldn't worry about them today, democracy and so on. Leave it to them.
Hello.
You've got tens of thousands of bright Chinese students in America. You give them a bad impression, a bad time, they'll go home nursing a grievance. You accept it as friends and say, look, this is one world, global warming. We will be in trouble, you will be in trouble. AIDS, terrorism, chemical weapons, nuclear weapons. It's a different world. China will not be the sole power, but sometimes, I'm not talking about people at the top, I think they understand this, but the people at the bottom, middle ranges, when the Deputy Prime Minister, our Deputy Prime Minister, who is now Prime Minister, went to Taiwan, the barrage of vicious articles on him on the internet from young students was intense. Suddenly, from a good old friend, we became a brand new enemy. Overnight, that gives us cause for reflection. So I said to some of my Chinese friends, I said, that's better tell your young people, if you say we are old friends, then we have to stay old friends for a long time. You come to, suddenly I do something which you don't like and we become an enemy. I'm not sure if they can get the young people to do it, to understand that, because they're growing up in a different China, a China which they feel is going to come up very quickly, Jueqi. I'm not sure it's going to come up without troubles. I think enormous social problems will crop up, disparity, corruption, all kinds of problems. But the crucial question that the world wants to know is, having arisen or having fully developed, what kind of China, what kind of power is it going to be? Because by then you'll be 1,500 million or 600 million, educated, organized, it can become. Now they keep on saying, we're not going to be a hegemon. Never. No, I believe it for their lifetime. But as I think of the young attacking us, I think overnight I became an enemy. How is that? So I explained it to my friends. I said, no, when you do that, you annoy 1.3 billion people. Shishani. That caused me to pause again. So when you annoy me, you only annoyed 4 million people. But I thought you said all countries big and small are the same. So I begin to have doubts about that. But never mind, I think it is still in the formative stage. And if I were America, Europe, and Japan, I would spend time to make sure that the mindset of the younger generation is not one of hostility, but one of acceptance and an understanding that you are now a stakeholder, which was Bob Zoellick's very apt description of their role. When they were called a stakeholder, they asked me, what is a stakeholder? I said, it means you've got a stake in it, and if it goes down, you will lose money. After some time, they said, yeah, that's right. So stakeholders are a good idea. So make them feel they're stakeholders. And if this earth goes warm, they're in as much trouble as anybody else. Thank you.
我知道这一段非常的长，那么我也会不要说太多。首先，作为一个国家的领导者，而且他是作为一个现在而看啊，新加坡已经是全球财富排名非常靠前的国家，亚洲人均 GDP 也是非常的高。作为一个这样国家的领导者，他是非常有领导者的风范的。 首先他在回答这位女学生的时候，他自己都说了，你长大在中国，你会比我更了解中国。就他能直接就是很谦逊的告诉对方，也许我的看法还不如你的看法，这是把自己放在一个很低的姿态，这是李光耀非常，我觉得非常难得的一点。他一直被人认为他是铁人，被人称为他是铁人啊，钢铁巨人，但是他同样有他非常谦逊的一面。这段话含义很多了，包括他说了中国要如何解决自己的内部问题等等等等。那其实对于我而言，我个人感觉他其实中间有一个核心的观点，就是当中国崛起的时候，全世界都会在看中国崛起之后到底会成为一个什么样的国家。我们如果以一个班级来，经常会拿这个全世界打比方作为一个班级嘛，在这个班级里面，中国到底是扮演一个什么样的角色？班长、副班长、最调皮的孩子，还是能够帮助到老师的孩子？关键就是全世界的目光都在投向中国，看中国到底会怎么样。那么到今天这个地步，我个人觉得问题就出在，当中国有那个机会，李光耀刚刚说了，在中国有机会和顶尖国家坐在一起做事的时候，他们抓住了这个机会，但是在过去这20-30年，他们在 WTO 里面的这些表现，并没有能让这些顶尖的国家觉得中国有这个诚意，有这个遵守规则的决心去和大家一起玩这个游戏，让这个世界变得更好。所以导致今天的局面，不光是美国，在美国的领导牵头之下，有很多国家都开始反对中国。那么其实这一点，李光耀他虽然没有直接明白的说这样的话，其实他的话里面我觉得还是有一些这样的担忧的。他说了，他也不确定中国能不能所谓平稳的崛起过程中一定会遇到困难，遇到阻挠，但是关键看你自己怎么样去崛起。其实我想一想，就跟我们做 YouTube 频道一样，一个频道想做大做好，可能不是每个人都有那种一个视频就有几千万的流量的这种视频，一下子让你的频道就能爆起来。我们做不到那样，那么我们就脚踏实地，一点一点的去积累。但是在这个积累过程中，你一定要稳稳当当的遵循游戏规则，尊重别人的意念，就是非常稳步的发展。如果你过于极端，或者是过于走向另一个极端，不管你是过左还是过右，总而言之，你走向一个极端以后，就会导致你会失去很多曾经愿意和你在一起看你视频的观众。当然有些人会说，保持中立就会显得你没有特点，这个话我同意一半。有一些原则是不能碰的。我一向觉得你可以靠近左靠近右，你可以观点可以摇摆，但是有一些底线你是不可以触碰的。任何一个党派内，任何一个国家，你再右的党派，你川普的党派，他也有人是在党内，也有人是不支持川普的，也有人会相对偏左的。你再左的党派，也有人在党内相对是偏右的。人类都需要一个平衡，任何事情都需要一个平衡。如果这个世界失去了平衡，那么将会变得非常的可怕。所以我刚刚说了，就像我们做视频一样，要稳步的在这个过程中不停的积累。首先我们自己要提高自己，这点也很关键。中国在过去加入 WTO 这么多年，其实我个人觉得中国倒真的除了偷取别人的技术，学习别人的科技，偷取别人的科技专利以外，他真的没有在这个文化意识上，没有在这个道德层面上去学习到发达国家的一些优势，反而一直秉持着自己想走的道路，就这样义无反顾的，可以说是一路错的走下来，所以导致到今天这个局面。我不知道大家看这段视频很长嘛？你们看这段视频里面的信息量也很大，你们自己有什么样的感悟？我们可以在评论区我们接着聊，接着说。这只是我想跟你们分享众多李光耀视频里面的其中一条而已。当然这条视频已经有很大的年代了啊，在他回答问题的时候，他还说了那个时候中国只有13亿人，现在其实已经远远不止了。他那个时候还在说中国可能需要20年、30年、40年去崛起，而现在中国说实在话，已经到了一个还没崛起就要被封杀的这个时候已经到了。 我最近在拜读李光耀的大作的时候，我真的发现他当时有一些预言，没有人是完美的啊。他当时有一些预言，我觉得可能真的不会实现。但是对于中国是否能够平稳崛起，它里面包含了这么多的概念在里面，我觉得很值得跟大家分享一下。你有什么想法？评论区我们接着聊，接着说。Thank you very much，感谢。